Welcome, greetings, and virtual hugs to you all for coming today to our second virtual honors celebration. My name is Lori Renee, tonight's MC and voice behind the scenes. Together with Martin Library's Honors Committee, community friends, and staff, we bring you tonight's special event honoring Tom and Cindy Donley. We have some remarkable tribute speakers with us tonight to tell us more about Tom and Cindy and their impact on the community. We'll hear from Bob Pullo, Ann Drook, and Governor Tom Wolf. I have just a few housekeeping items for you. Your audio and video will be turned off during the event. You can see and hear us, but we can't see you. So if you're still in your morning jammies, only you and your cat are going to know, so stay comfy. Feel free to open the chat feature and type a message to event organizers. Please be aware that your message may be seen by all in attendance. Please be aware that this event is being recorded for marketing purposes. We kick off tonight's ceremony with our honors trivia game. During the event, your screens will prompt with a poll, and you can participate by selecting the answer on your screen. Round 1 will contain 4 questions about Martin Library, and round 2 has 6 questions about Tom and Cindy. You will have 20 seconds to answer each question. The viewer who answers every question correctly wins the coveted YCL golf umbrella. We will notify our winner by email tomorrow, and who knows, we could get more than one winner. We really do have quite a time planned for you. So glad you joined us. Round 1 of our trivia. As many of you know, Martin Library is currently undergoing renovations that will result in more community spaces and enhanced programming. If you missed last week's information session about the project, then you can see the recording on York County Library's YouTube channel. Let's take a look back at the history of Martin Library's expansion with tonight's first round of trivia. Question number 1. A public library for York was the dream of carriage-maker Milton Martin. In what year was Martin's dream realized when Martin Library opened its doors to the public? Was it 1915, 1920, 1935, or 1940? Let's see what that answer is. A grand opening was held on Halloween Eve in 1935. Martin's 1912 bequest, along with his wife Martha's bequest in 1915, motivated the community to invest and grow the funds needed to build and stock a public library. In typical York push forward, don't give up style, patient equity ultimately paid off. Following one of the most difficult times in history, Martin Library proudly opened its doors in 1935, 23 years after Martin's death. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Martin, for giving us our beautiful library. On to question number 2. In 1956, Martin Library expanded and opened the Children's Library. Which family made a significant gift to the library for this expansion? Was it the Martin family, the Smith family, McDonald family, or the Baker family? If you frequent the Children's Library, then you might remember seeing the name above the entrance. And the answer is, of course, it's the John E. Baker family donated funds for this special area, and the J. E. Baker Children's Library opened in 1956. Portraits of J. E. Baker, the first president of the Martin Library Association, and William H. Baker, his son, can be found hanging in the Children's Library. In fact, Mr. William H. Baker, J. E. Baker's son, found the statue of the turtle baby in France and brought it back specifically to be incorporated into a fountain in the new area. Do you remember when the fountain was inside the library? Well, it's now located in the small courtyard off of the Children's Library. Moving on to question number 3. I hope everybody's doing well. In what year did Martin Library expand by adding a second floor and more room to the Children's Library? Was it 1979, 1985, 1987, or 1992? This was really a large expansion for the library at the time. Does anybody remember that? And the answer is, it was 1987. The second floor was added to house adult nonfiction and reference materials. The Children's Library was extended to the alley behind the library, and staff received some much-needed space in the lower level. Did you know much of the lower level remained untouched until now? This year's renovation is including improvements to that area to create more efficient staff working spaces. And now we're on to the final question of round one. Martin Library's last expansion was completed in 2005. It included the addition of the Brownstone building. Which photography studio was once housed in this historic brownstone? Was it Henry M. Blattner, Bill Shintz, Thaler's, or the Loring Studio? It's such a beautiful building, and we're so lucky to have that brownstone. And the answer was Henry M. Blattner. He was one of the most remembered tenants of the brownstone with his photography studio. It was built in 1866. The Brownstone building at 153 East Market Street is a local York landmark. It served as residence to David E. Small family for many years before functioning as both apartment and commercial spaces. Susquehanna Falscraft Company owned the building in 2002 when they bestowed it to Martin Library for its expansion project. I remember that expansion. I was very involved in that. It was just huge. And that lovely atrium and the family place and the children's library, they were beautiful additions during that time. How's everybody doing on that trivia? That's the end of round one. I hope you're doing well. Now, to formally welcome you to today's event, it is my honor and privilege to introduce Robert F. Lambert, President of York County Libraries, a familiar face with friendly face with Martin Library, joining the staff in his teens and moving through the pathways of life to YCL President in 2016. Please give a round of virtual applause as we greet Robert.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Lori Renee, for that wonderful introduction. It is my honor and privilege to welcome all of you to our virtual honor ceremony here at Martin Library. We are so delighted to share with you today's event, honoring community icons Tom and Cindy Donley. Tom Donley, Vice Chair of the Martin Library Board of Directors and Co-Chair of the Major Gifts Division of the York County Libraries Capital Campaign, and wife Cindy, a special education teacher and a well-respected children's author, are both pillars of our York County community. Valuing leadership, entrepreneurship, education, arts and culture, and most of all, families, the Donleys truly embody it all. Tonight, you'll hear special tributes from our dear friends Bob Pullo, York philanthropist and business leader, Ann Druck, President of the United Way of York County, and Governor Tom Wolf, longtime friend of the Donleys, community leader, and passionate supporter of our York County Libraries. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our good friend Bob Cox, Chair of the Martin Libraries Honors Committee. Please join me in a round of virtual applause as we invite Bob to acknowledge today's event and to recognize our honorees.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this spring COVID-delayed honors event. This is our second virtual honors event, and I'm very hopeful, as I'm sure everyone is, that this may be replaced with actual in-person honors events starting this fall. In any case, it's my opportunity to thank all of you for being here on behalf of the Martin Library Honors Committee, and that is Lynn Daniel, Brenda Elby, Robert Lambert, Donna Pullo, Becky Sandstein, and Lori Renee Wyant, and myself, Bob Cox, as chairman. This event, fortunately, we have the opportunity to honor Tom and Cindy Donley, who most all of you know. They are stalwarts of the community and have been very supportive of the library and the entire not-for-profit community in York County. About Tom and Cindy, before I get into what's printed on your information, I want to relay a personal story. I left corporate life about 25 years ago and consulted with Tom about becoming an entrepreneur and starting my own business, Cox Commercial Real Estate. Tom was extremely helpful in setting that up and telling me the ins and outs of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And I very much appreciate this opportunity to thank him personally. Back to Tom and Cindy. Tom and Cindy are valued members of the York County community, dedicated to literacy and learning. Tom is an attorney who worked as a certified Chamber of Commerce executive for 31 years, 24 of which he served as CEO of the York County Chamber. Tom also attended a professional services marketing certification as Director of Business Development for the Butts family of companies, construction managers. Cindy is a special education teacher and well-respected children's author, dedicated to reading and education as fundamental to one's development as a citizen and effective leader. Tom and Cindy have both utilized their time and talents in support of the library and other educational organizations throughout York County. Tom and Cindy grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which we won't hold against them, where they were William Allen High School classmates. They take great pride in and are dedicated to their families, especially their 3 children and their 5 grandchildren. I hope everyone will join me in honoring Tom and Cindy Donley at this year's event. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bob. Friends, I hope everybody's having a good time. And are we ready for round 2 of the trivia? We're going to learn some fun facts about Tom and Cindy and their favorite books. If you haven't read the books yet, I'll bet these questions will help pique your interest in doing so. Question number 5, starting round 2. Tom and his family relocated to York in 1987 when he was selected to lead which organization? Was it the York County Chamber of Commerce, York County Libraries, United Way of York County, or the York County Literacy Council? They're all great organizations, and if you just listened to Bob's speech, you'll know which one. And the answer is, during a nationwide search, Tom was selected as the president of the York County Chamber of Commerce. At the end of his 24 years with the Chamber, Tom was instrumental in merging the Chamber with the newly established York County Economic Alliance. Thank you so much for your enormous contribution to the York community, Tom. Question number 6. Cindy is an accomplished children's author of which book? Is it The Snowy Day, The Bad Seed, Guess How Much I Love You, or Oh, I'm So Angry? Oh, I'm So Angry tells the story of 6-year-old Katie and her journey to expressing anger in a healthy way. Maybe Cindy would like to read an excerpt from this book for us tonight. Let's hope. On to the next question, question number 7. All right, so here's a little insight into Tom and Cindy. Now let's take a look at their favorite books. Here's David McCullough, author of The Wright Brothers, became a member of this secret society while attending Yale University. Was it the Skull and Bones, the Scroll and Key, the Dead Poets Society, or Ravensclaw? They all sound pretty ominous to me. Which one do you think McCullough was part of? It was the Skull and Bones, also known as the Order 322, or the Brotherhood of Death, is an undergraduate senior secret student society at Yale University. In addition to secret societies, McCullough has had a lifelong interest in aviation. His book, The Wright Brothers, was on the New York Times nonfiction bestseller list for 7 weeks in 2015. And you know, this book is available anytime at York County Libraries. Moving on to question 8. F. Scott Fitzgerald considered alternative titles to his book, The Great Gatsby. Which of the following is not one of his alternative titles? Was it Trimalchio and West Egg, The Gold-Hatted Gatsby, Under the Red, White, and Blue, or The West Egg Murders? I can't imagine that book being called anything else. The West Egg Murders was not one of the titles considered for this book. While scholars believe the Hall Mills murder case in Great Neck highly influenced the plot of Fitzgerald's novel, his alternative titles were less focused on this aspect. Fitzgerald's editor, Maxwell Perkins, convinced the author to abandon his favorite title of Trimalchio and West Egg in favor of The Great Gatsby, despite Fitzgerald's ambivalent feelings towards that choice. Of course, this classic is also available to check out at the York County Libraries. Moving on to question number 9. In Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, what does Jo call the most beautiful things in the world? Is it paintings, families, books, or castles? Did you know this book is loosely based on Alcott's childhood experiences with her 3 sisters? And the answer is, families are the most beautiful things in the world, and I agree. While Alcott admitted she did not enjoy writing the book, the first printing of 2,000 copies sold out quickly, and the publishing company had trouble keeping up with demand for additional printings. And this book is also available, you know where, York County Libraries. All right, we have one final trivia question for the night. Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are is surprisingly short, but how short is it? Is it 8 sentences, 12 sentences, 15 sentences, or 10 sentences long? It's a good book, and it is a short one. The answer is, Where the Wild Things Are is a short 10-sentence children's book. The story of only 338 words was published in 1963, forgive me. Maurice Sendak won the annual Caldecott Medal from the Children's Librarians in 1964, recognizing Wild Things as the previous year's most distinguished American picture book for children. As one of her favorites, I'm sure Cindy read this story to her children and grandchildren many times over the years. I hope everybody did great on those trivia questions. Now that we've had a little insight into Tom and Cindy, as well as some of their favorite books, it's time to hear from their tribute speakers. Honoring this wonderful couple with their recorded tributes, I am pleased and privileged to introduce our dear friends, Bob Pulo, York philanthropist and business leader, Ann Druck, president of the United Way of York County, friend and business colleague, and Governor Tom Wolf, longtime friend of the Donleys, community leader, and passionate supporter of our libraries. Please watch along as they share their tributes.
Good evening, all. I'm pleased to have been asked to make a few comments and remarks about my friend Tom Donley and his family. What a tremendous asset they have been for all of us here today. In fact, all of York County has benefited by having them among us. Tom and his family have been unique, out front lead cheerleaders for businesses and citizens of York, and we were blessed to have had his family here for so long and with such dedication as trailblazers in a world needing diversity and inclusion. At the same time, he was transforming or hired to transform our Chamber of Commerce to its modern day user-friendly advocacy for all. Tom prevailed in a nationwide executive search and began as the York Chamber's president in 1987. And the family devoted 24 full years of enhancing and growing our community pride and our community achievements, not only economically, but socially as well, and not necessarily just in York or just at the Chamber. Tom was a direct opposite of his predecessor, Carl New. Carl, a good guy, was short. Tom's tall. Carl was a retailer of many, many years. Tom was a youthful, career Chamber of Commerce executive leader coming from his engagement at the United States Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. Carl was gruff, and I say that lovingly. Tom was friendly, sensitive, cheerful, and always smiling, nearly like a howdy-doody smile, nearly all of the time. Thank you to both of them for being great leaders and helping raise York to the place it holds today. You got to know Tom to love Tom. You got to know him to understand him. I know him, and I think I understand him. I love the guy. Think about this. He drives a car with the license plate, Yay, York. Yay, York. How many influential individuals do you know that displays and consistently expresses such community pride? You gotta love it. This is a grand display of what he's all about, and his family as well. So I came to York in the mid-'70s, say 9 years before Tom. And as a newbie myself, I sort of was knowing what it's like to be from the outside, stepping into a prominent role or any other role to a certain extent. I spent a fair amount of my time with newly recruited and hired business leaders to welcome them and then to share with them my networking thoughts and observations about networking and inclusion around the table of community issues. I did this with Tom as our new different chamber leader. Some time ago, in 1991 through 1992, I became the chairperson of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. During that time, there was an important upcoming legislative regional event to take place in Gettysburg. I knew my friend Senator Bortner would be in attendance, and I invited Tom to join us on that drive at 7 a.m. in the morning. York was famous for its 7 a.m. meetings every day of the week. Tom and I agreed it would be a valuable opportunity for him to get to know the senator and have a little time to express our chamber position to the senator on urgent and current legislative affairs and matters. We started out probably about 6 a.m. to drive to the event. And in advance, I emphasized to Tom, we have him as a captive audience in the car for the time it takes us to get there. And he should engage with him, and I would just be a listener. So Tom and Senator Mike would be getting to know each other better and could get a lot of airtime. So what did Tom do? This is funny. He falls asleep in the back seat of my car. Funny story. I forgive him for that. Tom being a 24/7 active and accessible guy, he probably had a tough day the day before. Like I say, you got to know him to love him. I love the guy. I admire how Tom successfully navigated his important chamber role at his board of directors governance meetings, which consisted of some 800-pound gorillas and many highly notable, successful, and influential business and community leaders. Thankfully, all were relentless in their individual and collective pursuit of growth and improvement, as was my mentor, Bill Wolf. And my mentor, Bill Wolf, would now and then gently remind me that today's successes become tomorrow's quotas. Tom's board is no different. in that they constantly and deliberately raise the bar each and every strategic year and budget year. A new boss, a new chairman every 2 years over the 24 years that he was chamber president, a new boss that was a volunteer business leader, elected chairman of the chamber. I was one of them. It should be of no surprise to each incoming, or to that each incoming chair had plans and ideas that, if implemented, would have a significant mark on one's tenure as a chairperson, a legacy, if you will. Tom, as you could very well imagine, was to be challenged and had a tough job in supporting and accommodating in that regard. At the same time, to meet the goals and objectives and strategies of an adopted strategic plan. Realistically, that sounds much like herding cats. I can attest to the fact that Tom maneuvered that very, very well among so many other things during his 24 years with us. During my term as chair, back in 91, 92, I recall my strong desire to establish an in-house Office of Minority Development within the chamber and to be led by a minority executive director. Tom expertly facilitated my desired plan, which included reestablishing a defunct Minority Business Owners Association. Additionally, he convinced the board of directors to accommodate my request to fund the program for a full 5 years. Minorities at that time did not feel comfortable at our Chamber of Commerce. The comfort grew, and by and large, we implemented a great plan. Unfortunately, it ended after the full 5 years, and only because the Minority Business Owners Association again went defunct. However, it served us well. In that day, as many and better programs and services have been instituted and designed for inclusion. Thank you, Tom, for being a champion of that important cause that is ongoing. Just for some brief background, I looked up Tom's profile on LinkedIn. Right up front, he said it all. He said it well. He said his primary stated goal was to be a good friend and to help grow a better community. He undoubtedly has reached and exceeded that lofty goal. He continues in the community and advocates with great credibility. He and Cindy have shown as a community advocate with credible influence, personal attributes, and human goodness. When we hired Tom here in New York, we got more than twice what we bargained for. As Cindy, in all the chamber does and in what Tom was doing, she too worked diligently. All hours of the day and night in support of her husband and the chamber, and so not only the chamber, but throughout York. The whole family did so as well. Throughout the community, they became one of York's finest and most effective power couples. Once again, let me say, I love you guys. Again, thank you and the donors and the staff and leadership of the Martin Library for including my message. Have a great day.
Thank you to the York County Libraries for honoring valued individuals who make impactful contributions to our community, such as Tom and Cindy Donley. Tom and Cindy, congratulations on this amazing recognition for your contributions. Thank you, Tom and Cindy, for sharing your passions, your expertise, and your generosity with your fellow citizens. Your love of books, literacy, and the library are well known and admired. We are so blessed that this amazing couple from Allentown adopted our community and established, built, and nurtured your family, your career, and our community, York County, along the way. Tom and I have known each other for almost 30 years now. In fact, Tom, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. In 1993, Tom chose me to be the leader of the York County Convention of Visitors Bureau. And at that time, I reported to Tom, and I did for 7 years. And one of Tom's commitments to our community was that the chamber every year would run a United Way campaign. In 1993, I didn't know much about the United Way of York County. I know a little bit more now, but I knew that Tom was a well-respected leader, and I knew that if Tom endorsed it, it was a good thing. So since 1993, thanks to you, Tom, I've been a contributor to the United Way of York County. And in fact, Tom's legacy and support of the United Way continues today. He is back again, one of my bosses, because he is on the board of directors of the United Way of York County. Tom is also chair of our Tocqueville cabinet. He continues to give beyond retirement his gifts, his energy, and his passion to build and strengthen our community. And Cindy also is an accomplished author. In fact, Tom and I are fellow members of the Rotary Club of York. Our motto is service above self. And in honor of each of our speakers, we provide them with a book that's donated to a United Way of York County early child care center. And we have given away many of Cindy's books, I'm So Angry, to our speakers. Tom and Cindy, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all that you have done and all that you will continue to do for our community. Tom and Cindy, you are #1 in our book. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Governor Tom Wolf. Congratulations to Tom and Cindy Donley on being chosen as the next honorees of the Martin Library Honors Committee. I've known Tom and Cindy for many years, and there are no two people more deserving of this honor. Tom and Cindy have demonstrated a lifelong commitment to community service. Of course, I worked closely with Tom when I was chair of the York Chamber and he was the president. And he and Cindy have continued to work hard to bring prosperity to the York community. They are frequent volunteers, and they represent the best of public service. Tom and Cindy are true and faithful advocates for the value of reading and the importance of supporting our local libraries. Cindy is a special education teacher and a children's book author, and Tom serves as vice chair of the Martin Library Board of Directors. Both have dedicated many hours to supporting the library and sharing their love of reading and learning. So congratulations to you both for receiving this honor from the Martin Library Honors Committee, and thank you for everything you do for the libraries and for the York community. Your hard work and your dedication to serving your community is deserving of our recognition and our gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our speakers. They tell some great stories, and what a great way to tell the library story, and what a better way to represent community than library. And I must add that Tom and Cindy are great pillars of the community, being lifelong community supporters, library advocates, philanthropic leaders, and a couple that truly loves to have fun. Tom and Cindy, we welcome you to share your comments and remarks. Viewers, give it up for Martin Library's 2021 Spring Honorees, Tom and Cindy Donley. Tom.
Thank you, Lori Renee. Good evening, library supporters. Although we can't hear each other with the Zoom technology and everything, I'll borrow from former Mayor John Brenner's book and say again, good evening, York Library supporters. Cindy and I want to thank Bob Cox and the Honors Committee for selecting us for this honor. We are grateful to be added to the list of dedicated. There is a saying, thing is the main thing is the main thing. So we hope you will make a contribution to the main thing, the book fund. This will help keep our wonderful library system going strong. Thank you to those who have given, and in advance, thank you to those who will give. I'm trying to keep my comments as a short story, not a long novel, and then introduce Cindy and our grandchildren, Nezzy, Tommy, and William Skean, 3 of our 5 grandchildren who are before kindergarten distinction. Chapter 1. I want to thank my mom for introducing me to libraries and my dad for cultivating a love for reading in me. Became chairman of the board of directors of the Allentown Public Library, and she did that for 20 years. And it was one of many things that made us very proud of her. Chapter 2. The York Area Chamber first, and then we became the York, into much detail on that. But I want to thank the leaders of the chamber back in the late 80s for selecting me and bringing us to York. What an amazing experience and just life-changing experience it's been for us. And as Governor Wolf mentioned before, we had any idea that he would become governor, and His Excellency Bob Pullo and a number of other great people served as chairman and chairwomen of the chamber and were great mentors to me. And hiring a wonderful team, including Anne, as she mentioned, as head of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, was really terrific. It was a challenge moving to a new city with very young children, and Cindy pulled us through in style. Family is important to us, and we didn't live very near our family. Our parents were still up in Allentown, but you know, we made family in York and had family come to York. Right now we're on vacation with Katie and her family, and we're over Zooming this at my cousin Paula's house. She has good Wi-Fi, and our son Ted and our daughter Megan are watching, linked into it. So family is important to us, as it is to the speakers as well. And just let me respond to them a little bit. As Bob Pula likes to say, everyone is entitled to my opinion. So what can you say about a man who has the Penn State York Performing Arts Center named after him? Well, Donna can say, Bob, it's time to take out the garbage. I can say no to Bob every now and then, just to keep him humble. But Donna, I can't say no to. She is undeniably persuasive. And Bob Cox was aware of that when he had Donna call me to offer this award. But Donna, we love you. Ann Miller Druck, her name on it, but there is from that part of the county, but Ted Druck is from a longstanding York County, and they might be related. But Ann is the pride of Seven Valleys and Southern York County. And over 25 years leading the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau and our statewide association as well, where Ann served as the volunteer chair, she became York County's leading economic development executive, attracting millions of people, again, with her team effort, millions of people into York County to visit, to discover York County, to get to know York County. And really, she had a fantastic career, and it could have ended right there. And then she accepted the challenge and the responsibility of becoming CEO of the United Way. And Ann is doing a wonderful job there. There are trying times across the country, COVID last year, assembling a new team at the United Way. And the United Way had a great year last year, raising over $1 million with our community foundation for a COVID fund, continuing to connect with business and with individual givers in York County, becoming a strong supporter of Give Local York, which it has done really since the beginning of Give Local York. And now we're into the 100th anniversary of the United Way. So Ann is leading the organization through many challenges, ups and downs, but this is a great year to be celebrating our United Way. Anne is a person who keeps her word, and about 4 years ago, she committed to serve as president of the York Rotary Club, which happens to be one of the largest Rotary clubs in the world. And Anne took on that responsibility this year as well, which is a major time commitment and a very sacrificial thing, and she handled both of those jobs extremely well. Tom Wolfe, Governor Tom Wolfe, the pride of Mount Wolfe and now all of Pennsylvania. When Cindy and I moved to York, Tom and Frances invited us to their home for dinner right away and made us feel very welcome. And Frances told me something that is very special about her, in addition to being a wonderful artist and such a bright and empathetic person in her role as First Lady. But her birth name, her maiden name, is Donley, not spelled exactly like hers. So how can you not love a person like that? Well, they make us very proud for their civility in a hyper-partisan time, and their, both of them, effective advocacy for public education and keeping Pennsylvania's children safe, healthy, and learning. They are awesome. And finally, Governor Wolfe's leadership got us through this COVID pandemic, got the pandemic under control, and despite all of the suffering and the death over the last year, doesn't it feel wonderful to be alive, resuming our freedom, not having to wear our masks all the time? So thank you, Governor Wolfe. The number of people I would like to thank would look like a phone book rather than a short story. So let me just say it was the highlight of my career to assemble and work shoulder to shoulder with our chamber team. Again, as Bob Pulo would say, the finest Chamber of Commerce in America. What an amazing group of people, so dedicated to representing our 2,000 plus members and growing a better community. Chamber members are the engine that drives the York County Economic Alliance under my ultimate successor, Kevin Schreiber. The Martin Library system as well. Our two are at Market and Queen Streets, Martin Library and the First Presbyterian Church. We have connected with library leaders and the library team for decades, from Bill Shell and Trish Calvani and others. It is such a pleasure associating with and becoming friends with Robert Lambert and library staff and volunteers. You form quite an honor roll. Last chapter. Next, Cindy will read from her children's book. It's been mentioned, I'm So Angry, Oh, I'm So Angry, illustrated beautifully by her niece, Hannah Stevens. Our daughter, Katie, when she was a little girl, had quite a temper, now beautifully managed most of the time. And she is the inspiration for the book. Then grandchildren Nezzy, that's Elizabeth Inez, and Tommy, will celebrate going to the library and their achievement. And our son-in-law, Sean Skian, and William, another 1,000 books winner, will tell the story of The Hungry, Hungry Caterpillar by the immortal Eric Carle. Conclusion. Our daughter, Megan Hewitt, and husband, Jeff Hewitt, leaders of the Wild Hymns Band, will conclude the program with I Feel You, one of their music videos. Thank you again.
So happy. Sometimes I feel silly, and sometimes I feel sad, and oh, I get so angry. Do you get angry too?
Poppy and Casey took me to the library. That is one of the reasons that I read 1,000 books before kindergarten. Yay!
In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a
leaf.
One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up and
Pop!
out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry
Caterpillar.
He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one,
Apple.
but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through two,
Pear.
but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through three,
Plum.
but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through four,
Strawberry.
but he was still hungry. On Friday, he ate through five,
Oranges.
but he was still hungry. On Saturday, he ate through
One piece of chocolate cake.
one,
Ice cream cone.
one,
Pickle.
one,
Microwave. Seed.
slice of Swiss cheese, one,
Sucker for mommy.
slice of salami, one,
Lollipop.
lollipop, one,
Piece of cherry pie.
piece of cherry pie, one,
Sausage.
sausage, one,
Cake.
cupcake, and one
I just real watermelon.
watermelon. That night, he had a stomach ache. The next day was Sunday. On Sunday, he had one nice green,
Leaf.
and after that, he felt much better. Now he wasn't hungry anymore, and he wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big.
Back. Where?
He built a small house around himself called.
A cookie.
He stayed inside for more than
There's
2 weeks. Then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and
beautiful butterfly.
he was a beautiful butterfly.
Oh my goodness, that might be the most adorable thing I've ever seen. Thank you so much, Tom and Cindy, for everything you do in the community. And thank you for sharing your beautiful family with us tonight. Now I'm going to pass it back to Robert Lambert for this evening's final remarks. Robert?
Thank you, Laura Renee. And thank you, Tom and Cindy, for being tonight's special honorees. We respect and recognize not only your leadership, but also your endless devotion to literacy and learning. Our thanks to all of you for being here tonight. We hope you enjoyed the celebration, and thank you for your continued support and commitment to our York County Libraries. And now we turn it back to our illustrious Laura Renee to wrap up this evening's event.
Thank you so much, Robert. And that's our program for this evening. Thank you, viewers, for attending our virtual honors event. We hope you felt the love and caring shared by everyone for each other and our community. Thanks for your support of our libraries. If you haven't already honored Tom and Cindy with a gift to the library, there is still time. Go to donate.yorklibraries.org to make your gift. Be on the lookout for an email later this week announcing the winner or winners of tonight's trivia. I hope everybody won. We close out tonight's program with a music video from one of Tom and Cindy's daughters with her band, the Wild Hymns, as they perform I Feel You. You may see people you know, and you might recognize scenes from our very own York City in the video as well. With love and thanks from your library family, enjoy the rest of your night, stay well, and stay safe. I'm going to ask the Honors Committee members and tonight's speakers, including the 3 tribute speakers, to please remain on the Zoom after the completion of the video. Thank you all.